We'll now call this meeting of the Westfield Board Works and Public Safety to order. Could the clerk please recognize the attendance?
Mayor Willis.
Here.
Nick Barbacek.
Here.
We do have a quorum.
Perfect. Meeting minutes. We have meeting minutes for consideration for approval from the February 28th meeting. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
So moved.
Second. Moved and seconded. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Meeting minutes from our special meeting on March 13th. Do we have a motion to approve those as presented?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And the minutes are approved. Any amendments to the agenda as submitted? All right. So moving through the agenda, we have action item number 3, Advisa and the City of Westfield, an addendum to the Personnel Policy, Procedures and Benefits Manual. We're moving quick.
Don't fall asleep.
Let me turn that on. Good afternoon. For the record, Danielle Carey-Tolan, City of Westfield. We have been working with Advisa at the city with the staff, doing cultural assessments and defining our roles and responsibilities and core values. And this part of the contract is an addition to do a leadership training, and it will be for directors and then mid-level managers later on, because we'll take it on after they train us after a couple times. So it is just an addition to their contract that we would like to add on. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
This is great, offering leadership training for the city employees and HR help. I think this is great. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And the motion passes. Action item number 4, A&F Engineering in the City of Westfield Town Road Improvements north of 146th Street Design Services.
Yeah, for the record, John Neal, Director of Public Works. The contract before you is with A&F Engineering, a engineering firm we do quite a bit of work with on the road and traffic side of things. The work, if I can get my layers to look a little better here. The project before you is a design contract for improvements to Town Road between 146th Street and 151st Street, and more specifically, really from the roundabout at 146th Street up to this property line that you see on the screen before you. The reason for the improvements, there is a development on the northwest corner being proposed. It'll bring a Lifetime Fitness to Westfield, as well as some townhomes and other residential on this parcel on the northwest corner, as well as discussions, although a little further down the line, discussions of a fairly large development on the northeast corner as well. With that will be the construction of this frontage road per county requirements. And you're going to have an intersection here with the existing frontage road on the west and the future frontage road on the east. Given the amount of traffic we expect from those developments, this really needs to be a roundabout, as well as the existing roadway is fairly narrow. We need to do some improvements on the road to support some of this development that's coming in this area. So the contract before you is for the design of roadway improvements, inclusive of a roundabout at this intersection, and coordination with the various developers to make sure that what we're constructing aligns with their site plans and is copacetic with what they're planning on bringing to the city. So the total amount is $348,130. It's the full service design fee for this road work. Michael and I both have reviewed the contract. We feel it's very much in line with what we'd expect to pay for this type of work. And A&F has done a great job for us in the past here in the city. So with that, I'd answer any questions you may have. Oh, and thank you. Before Caitlin said something, I would ask for approval contingent on the addition of non-appropriation language in the contract. There's a clause that is missing in the contract itself that we just need to add in. It's a small paragraph for non-appropriation. So just contingent on that additional language.
The map looks like, do you have enough site control on the narrow part of that roadway, or is that a possible conclusion to the study that they're doing?
Good question. So with the development, when they plat this parcel, they'll dedicate the necessary right-of-way on the west side per our construction standards. Similarly, the developer has committed on the east side to dedicate any right-of-way necessary on that side because they're on board with the road project as well. So we don't anticipate any acquisition of right-of-way with the project.
Great. Any other questions? All right, I move to approve the A&F engineering contract subject to the amendment in the language. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and the motion carries. So we have action item number 5, street scan in the city of Westfield, automated asset management proposal.
Yes, so for the record, Michael Pierce, city engineer. So this proposal before you is a proposal from Street Scan to do the scanning of our roads for our asset management. So about 2 years ago, we contracted with Street Scan to scan all of our roads. It gives us a rating condition on all of our roads, shows locations of potholes, block cracking, all the different deficiencies that we have in there. Previously, we had always done that in-house, but due to resources, we felt like it's a good move to have a third party come in and reevaluate things. So we try to do this every 2 years, so we have a good updated condition rating on our roads, helps us drive decision making as far as asset management, resurfacing, crack fill, that sort of thing. So this proposal is for $54,958. That allows them to drive every road, scan it. We also get a user interface similar to what you kind of see on that cover sheet there, which is extremely useful from my perspective because it helps guide our whole pavement maintenance strategy. So they also, part of this, they'll provide 3D imagery of all of our roadways at the time they drive them. So it's basically like a very updated Google Street View, if you want to say that. So that's useful not only for our purposes, just every day, if questions come up type of thing. So I have a signing authority on here just because the final contract language is not available at this point. Our salesperson with them was on vacation, but assuming we get the signing authority approved, we'll have the contract reviewed and John will be able to sign that. So just ask for approval on that signing authority.
How have you guys done it previously? Probably manually inspecting it on an Excel sheet?
Correct, yeah. So before a couple years ago, we had a different a person in a different position that basically drove every street, did a hand calculation, then we logged it on an Excel sheet. So this is much more palatable from a resource standpoint, and also gives us the. I'll reiterate again, the interface is very useful for us because not only does it provide all the condition ratings, but it also has some budget management plans in there. So long range, I can give advice to the Board of Public Works or to council as far as what we should be spending from a pavement maintenance standpoint.
The other thing I like about is road paving can be an emotional conversation between residents, city councilors, the mayor's office. So this kind of takes all that out of it, and you actually have a scientific, data-driven decision-making. Not that what we did before wasn't that, but not near to the level this is, and it makes it real easy to manage that resident who calls and insists that their road is ready to be repaved today.
Exactly.
Yeah. And adding to that, part of what we'll work towards with this scan is having a public-facing side to that so that people can be able to access that data.
The other thing I want to add, and I've talked to your boss about it, John, but we want to get this data accessible in a portal for residents so that if they want to check the conditions of their streets and understand better where they're at in the pecking order, they have the ability to do that. So that's something to come here in the near future.
Is NDOT still requiring that as a part of community crossings grants too? So this kind of opens that up?
Correct. So we have to submit an asset management plan every year to be eligible for that. So this is the data we use to pull from to submit that.
Cool. Well, I move to approve it as presented, subject to a not to exceed with signing authority.
I'll second that.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And the action item number 5 carries. Action item number 6, signing authority for the concrete patching project of 2024.
Yep. So sticking with the theme of road maintenance, this is a signing authority for a concrete patching program. We do have 2 subdivisions and another cul-de-sac that are concrete streets within Westfield. And so we dedicate $85,000 annually to go in and do patching of those locations in areas where the concrete roads have kind of fallen into disrepair. So this is a signing authority to get that contract underway. We should have quotes received by mid to late April, and then we should be able to execute those contracts after we get those quotes in to do the concrete patching.
Any questions? None here. I move to approve it as presented. Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor of approving action item 6 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Action item number 7, spec dempsey in the City of Westfield's goods and services contract.
Good afternoon. For the record, Janelle Fairman, City of Westfield Economic Development. We have a proposal that we have before you this morning with Spec Dempsey. Jeff Speck is an urban planner who has been consulting with us about the potential redesign of some areas surrounding the Newbie parcel and the Simon Moon parcel that are parks projects that are underway. And the purpose of this is really to help do long-term land use planning in those areas so that we're accommodating all of the floodplain and considering that in the final plans of the parks so that we're preserving developable land for future development. Total value of this contract, I believe, sorry, it's been a couple days since I've looked at it. I think we're at 50. Let me get to our proposal here.
Very last page.
Oh, of course. One more. Yeah, total amount of the project is $50,000, and this does include a couple of site visits for them to come and study the land.
Great. Any questions on this? How does this interact with the normal planning functions that we're already doing?
Yeah, so this is more of an economic development focus where we're planning for the future economic growth in this area. It is immediately adjacent to the Midland Trail, so looking at connectivity to this area with other downtown developments and making sure that we're cohesively planning for the long-term viability of trailer-oriented development in the downtown area.
Perfect. I don't have any more questions. You?
No, I spent a lot of time with Mr. Speck when he was here, and he's fantastic. He's done some unique designs in the city of Carmel, and I'm excited for him to put his fingerprints in our city.
Great. Well, I move to approve as presented.
I'll second that.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And the motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Action item number 8, Shrewsbury in the City of Westfield, 161st and Spring Mill.
Yeah, that's me again. So this is related to right-of-way acquisition for 161st and Spring Mill roundabout. Here on the screen, the parcel in question is this parcel in the northwest corner. You can tell some right-of-way has already been acquired and is updated in the GIS on this parcel. This is the last parcel that we need to acquire right-of-way from in order to finalize and construct the roundabout at 161 in Spring Mill. We did go through an eminent domain process, or at least started the eminent domain process on this parcel because our appraisals were pretty far off from the counter offer that the property owner had brought back before us. Before that eminent domain procedures went too far into the process, we were able to negotiate with the property owner to reach a price that would be considered an administrative settlement. So, in other words, the negotiated price, which is $252,435 for .208 acres of permanent right-of-way and .167 acres of temporary right-of-way. That amount was higher than what our appraisals said, but it was an agreeable amount that when you factor in legal costs and the unknowns of going to trial, it was a win-win for both parties. It was a win for the city and a win for the property owner. So this is a settlement agreement for your approval to pay the $252,435 for the right-of-way acquisition needed for the roundabout. And once we acquire, we will be able to move forward towards construction.
This is probably the last stage of that process. So what's the timeline for that roundabout, do you know?
Once we have the right-of-way acquired, we're already ongoing utility relocation conversations with the utilities. There's some overhead electric that needs to be relocated along with some fiber and potentially a gas as well. I have to, off the top of my head.
So it's not a blast.
So we've got several months of relocation work. Very likely, we'll be looking at spring 25 for construction, but we'll coordinate with the schools to make sure that that's acceptable. We were hoping to get this constructed later this fall. Utility relocation, getting into it is such that some of the timelines I don't think we're not going to hit that before winter. And so rather than trying to get construction in before winter and then getting stuck in a winter situation, we're going to likely move it to spring.
Perfect. Any other questions on this one?
No, I was pretty intimate with what was happening with this, so.
All right. Do we have a motion to approve this as presented?
So moved?
And I second it. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And action item number 8 passes. We have action item number 9, an appeal from Lantern Commons, an illicit discharge fine appeal.
Yeah, I think what we'll do is have the city maybe quickly talk through what our findings were on the site and then give the appeal the floor for their
Sounds
discussion.
great. Do we have someone from the city to present?
For the record, Wes Rude, Stormwater Coordinator, City of Westfield. Francisco Contreras is our inspector on this site. That site was handed over to him on 8/3 of 2023. I think this documentation was provided to you guys in advance because it's very lengthy, but I did want to highlight a couple key things here. It does appear that in November, there was a warning made to this site that there were some efforts that needed to be made on their end. And at that time, he did include that there could be a $1,000 illicit discharge fine if they weren't in compliance. It does appear that only a month later, there was another inspection there. There were more violations. The culvert crossings were full sediment. I mean, the site was not in compliance. Again, at that time, Francisco didn't issue a fine. Now let's fast forward to a month later. A stop work order was issued with a fine of $250 and a $50 fee for reinspection in January. Because of these same ongoing illicit discharge issues, at the end of January, it was known to us that no issues were being made, or no corrections were being made in an effort to actually stop this completely or mitigate it to a point that it didn't need a response from the city every 4 weeks to keep them in compliance. He did issue a $1,000 fine at that point. I believe Francisco paid the site a visit not too long after that to see what kind of efforts were being made. And at the time, the dewatering bags were sufficient. They were working, but it was pretty obvious that they failed immediately within a few days. And then we were back to our final illicit discharge, which was significantly worse than anything we'd experienced up to that point. The pictures pretty well speak for themselves. So Francisco did take a lot of pictures here. This is the site literally starting from the moment he took over to just like, it's more of the site as from start to kind of where we are now. I will add to this issue. We did meet with Southern Building Group. They are the ones who received the fine. They are the permit holder. Millennium is not the permit holder. They're the contractor doing the work. And I think it's important to make that note because they're the ones who signed the Rule 5 for the project, the CSGP. They control that. We suggested that they meet with their consultant to come up with a better design. Their consultant is out of Tennessee. He is not on site. What he provided to us was unsatisfactory. It was almost as if they didn't even try. It was a napkin drawing. So Francisco and I met with Southern Building Group on site. Everybody agreed. They even agreed that the plans that are being put into place here are just not sufficient. It is not working. We came up with a better design that they're actually implementing right now. So the efforts that are being made right now are great. We've had rain since then, and it doesn't look anything like this.
It's working now and it's fixed.
It's working now because we're getting stabilization on the site. Okay, and we understand that dewatering is part of development, and we understand that you're going to have a little bit of erosion too. We can't fully eliminate it, but this is grotesquely. This is what we don't want to see. The creek is sediment laden right now. What's coming into it is just above and beyond that. There is a site across the street and just upstream who did somewhat similar efforts on some dewatering, and they've had virtually no issues at all. So we feel that in this instance, it was necessary to give a fine that was the extent of the fine that we could issue in the total of $10,000. And we feel like that the fine should stick. Francisco is doing his job. It's not a black and white. We do try to see that gray area. We understand that you're going to crack a few eggs to make an omelet, but this site needed more work here. So,
And
I'll leave it with that.
you did say that they're cooperating now, is that correct?
Absolutely, 100%.
That's the goal, because we want it fixed. We don't,
Yeah,
we don't just want to find people.
This has ramifications. It really does. It's more than dirty water. It's eroding out our streams, and this is not something we can tolerate.
Sediment is the #1 pollutant in the state of Indiana. So I feel like we understand that's going to happen in agriculture, it's going to happen in development, but we do need to take a little bit more pride in our waterways, and issuing a fine is a last resort for us. As you can see, there's just multiple conversations, so that's the city's Public Works' perspective on this matter.
Yeah, the only thing I would add is Westfield does sit at the top of the watershed in Hamilton County. We're actually at the top of 3 different watersheds, as a matter of fact, including Cool Creek, which is the picture you see. So our construction sites, what the efforts we make to reduce sediment helps everyone downstream as well. And so we're really the first line of defense for clean water in Hamilton County.
Thank you. Do we have representatives from the developer?
No, my name is Andy with Millennium Contractors. Part of, I just wanted to talk a little bit about it. So I'm here representing our company. Yep, Andy Klosser, Millennium Contractors. So I'm here representing our company, not necessarily Southern Building Group, because I think there was a little bit of a distinction to be made. We're not the contractor that started the job site. We didn't have anything to do with the dirt work operations or the erosion control operations from the very beginning. We were asked by Southern Building Group to perform the install of the sanitary sewer main and water mains for the project, the road going in. And we did have some problems with dewatering, but I think that was more complicated than what is kind of being portrayed. The site, when we showed up, was completely unstabilized, right? So in us just pumping water, there's nowhere for us to put it to. And I think when the dewatering bags are being used, the site would erode into that area and overflow everything, not just the dewatering operations. And we spent a lot of time, and I think Francisco can attest to it, we built an elaborate cleaning. We were pumping the water into a basin we built on site with rocks to help filter the dirt out of the water and try to keep it on site. I guess all I'm here to ask is that distinction try to be made where Southern Building Group is trying to put all of the onus on us, the contractor, so we're going to pay the fine. I would like to see something saying, hey, you know, this wasn't all Millennium Contractors' problem. That's why I'm here. I'm not here basically to defend them entirely, because I mean, we were there, we saw what was going on. Not a whole lot we could do. Our hands are tied because we're not responsible for that portion of the contract. So that's all I really had to say. We're a local contractor here. We work a lot in Westfield. We don't really have that problem. We try to do our best at all times, so.
So why does it have to go to Millennium then? Why can't it go to?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
it goes to
So
Southern.
you're not getting fined?
Not by you.
I
I'm not,
thought I
but
heard
by
you say
them
you're
I
getting
am.
fined, but, okay.
So,
It's a contractual issue between
Yeah.
Southern Building and
Okay.
Millennium.
I'm not gonna
not-
dive
we're-
into that.
Our fine is not to Millennium.
yeah,
Okay, perfect, perfect.
so,
And I'll just say that, you know, when you know you got a problem, and I'm not, again, not
understood.
busting your chops, but when you look out there and there's obviously a problem, and if it's a site-specific issue, communicating with the city and being transparent about what's happening would go a long way. Certainly give it a little bit of goodwill to work through the problem, but when you just repeatedly see this happening and nothing's being fixed, that sometimes you have to hammer it, so.
No, I think that's exactly it. And I'm just glad it's fixed going forward now too, which is the most important thing.
Good.
Perfect. So I think there's an amount difference in state law that we need to lower this fine to.
Yeah, so the updated state law, the maximum fine is $7,500 per occurrence, I believe is the way the law reads. So we would recommend that you reduce it by the $2,500.
Okay. I move to approve it as amended, down $2,500 to $7,500 fine to make it in line with state law, to just recognize how long it took to get here, but that we've got it fixed and we've got progress in the right direction.
I'll second that.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye?
Aye. And the action item number 9, the fine carries without appeal, lowered to $7,500. We have the March bond consent agenda.
Nothing to discuss, just a consent agenda item that you would approve, making a motion to approve this consent agenda, unless there are specific questions.
Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved?
Seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye?
Aye. The consent agenda from the March bond passes. Department reports, fire department.
Yeah, good afternoon, Rob Gaylor, Westfield Fire Department. This is our monthly report for the month of February. February, we didn't see too many significant changes from years past. One thing that I will note, responses were down just a little bit based on the years previous. For the month of February, we averaged 12.93 runs a day. Month of January, we're about 13.8-ish. So runs were down slightly a little bit. Still average turnout time, 1 minute and 13 seconds to get out the door from the time the alarm sounded. Total of 822 apparatus responses. And again, over 14% of our calls were to assisted living facilities or care facilities in the city. Comparatively, we were down 10 runs from 23 to 24, which overall, it's a decrease of almost 3%. As we look at our numbers, I looked at them, reviewed them yesterday. We're actually up in call volume right now comparatively to where we were last year at this time as a whole, about that 3%. So I'm speculating right now we'll be probably between 52 and 5,500 calls this year, which is up in numbers compared to last year. Happy to answer any questions that you folks may have. I don't want to read charts and slides, but.
Thank you for this. No, it's very helpful. We got a bunch of fire department presentation this month with the BOT award too.
Yes.
So appreciate it.
Hey, Rob, I'd ask too, I don't know if you're doing this, but could you make sure that these monthly reports get sent to city council as well?
Sure, I can do that, absolutely.
I just want them to have visibility on it.
Yep.
Thank you. Police Department.
Good afternoon, Scott Jordan, Westfield Police. Nothing noteworthy in the monthly report other than our UCR crimes or our most serious crimes are down about 20% from last year. But I do have just a couple quick department updates for awareness. I think Mayor's probably aware of these, but I'll go ahead and cover them.
Yeah.
This past weekend, our agency was recognized by CALIA, which is a commission of accreditation for law enforcement agencies in Montgomery, Alabama. It's the third time that we've been reaccredited. It's the gold standard in policies, procedures, and best practices for law enforcement agencies.
What do you have to do to get accredited for that?
You go down and we have outside evaluators that come into our agency and make sure that our policies and procedures are sound and that we're actually doing what those policies say. Worth noting that about 25% of law enforcement officers work for agencies that are CALIA accredited, but that only makes up about 5% of law enforcement agencies, so larger agencies, but it is the gold standard. Wanted to mention that.
And if I might interrupt, Chief Jordan does a lot of heavy lifting for this one, and I appreciate everything that you've done. And I know your whole team, it's a team effort, but I know this is something that you've managed and put a lot of work into over the years. I really appreciate it, because it truly is a gold standard.
Yeah, it's definitely a team effort, but it has made us much better. I mean, it standardizes basically how we do our job every day. Also wanted to mention our new hires that were approved at our last meeting were sworn in on Monday by Mayor Willis, Alexis Couchman, and Ryan Barth. And so they're starting their field training now. One will go to the academy. The eclipse planning has been completed. We've been working with other city departments, the fire department, as well as Grand Park. We have event action plans in place, and we'll have unified command set up for that event in conjunction with the county as well. Just a reminder, the new chief starts on Monday, April 8th. Chief Keen. And unless there are questions, that's all I have for today.
No, very helpful. Thank you. Congrats on the new accreditation renewal and appreciate everything. Thank you.
And Chief, you're sitting at the council too, right? If not, add that to the list as well.
Absolutely.
That'd be great.
Thank you. And Public Works.
Yeah, so we've got pothole crews out there all day, every day, and weather permitting, we've switched over to hot mix asphalt now that asphalt plants are back up and running, so a little bit better material to go in those potholes that do pop up. Obviously, when you start to see temperatures that fluctuate between freezing and warm weather, especially adding in rain, you're going to see some potholes that pop up. We're trying to be proactive and stay on it. Obviously, there's the pothole reporting tool that we address every day, but our crews are out there working kind of geographically throughout the city in a quadrant each day to try and proactively find potholes and fix them before they're reported. So that's keeping our street department busy. I think it's safe to say, I'm going to knock on wood, but I think it's safe to say we're going to work towards wrapping up our snow removal efforts and get that equipment maintained and put away for the year, hopefully. We're starting to see it looking like a nice weekend ahead of us coming up, so I think everyone's excited for some spring weather. Our resurface package, I think I mentioned at the last meeting, and if I didn't, I guess the timing might not have worked out, but our resurface package came in $150,000 under budget for the resurface of 2024, which is great news. Again, kudos to Michael Pierce, his team for putting that together. That work will start as soon as May 5th for the resurface work in Westfield. So I know people are eager to see some of their neighborhood streets getting resurfaced. That work will start as early as May 5th. Tomlinson Road, we have a widening project plan. Duke Energy is starting to do their relocation work to get poles out of the way on the east side of Tomlinson Road, so we're excited about that. That'll make room for our road contractor to get out there and do the widening work, likely start in the summer. Duke's target end date is May 17th for the relocation work. So just want to provide a quick update on that. Simon Moon Park project, that construction started about 2 weeks ago, so we got dirt moving behind city services right now for that Simon Moon project. Very excited to get that underway. And then just a road closure to be aware of, starting this past Monday, Oak Road between 161st Street and the first neighborhood entrance there to the south, so just south of the roundabout at 161 in Oak, is closed for a Citizens Energy Group force main sewer project that's being installed. It is anticipated to be a 2-week closure. So it was fortunate that CG was able to get started on a spring break week this week, where we see a lot less traffic. They're working hard to get that done as quick as possible, and hopefully getting that done before the eclipse, before it affects any eclipse traffic as well. So that closure will be a 2-week closure. And then lastly, we did get some concerns from residents this week about some signs on US 31 talking about a State Road 32 closure starting April 1st. That closure is in Noblesville. I want to be clear about that. It is unrelated to our 32 work in Westfield. NDOT was trying to get some advanced warning signs out there. It caused some confusion with Westfield residents, but that April 1st closure of 32 is clear over in downtown Noblesville. So the detour route for that is Hazeldale as a local route, which is why NDOT wanted to get the word out ahead of time. But I just wanted to try and clear that up if anyone had questions there. Happy to answer any other questions you may have.
I got 2 comments. One, that Oak Road, that is Oak Manor, that's my neighborhood. And although I'm not on the HOA board because I'm the mayor in that neighborhood, they think I'm on the HOA board. So if that gets delayed, please let me know so I can stay out of hot water with my neighbors. And then we talked about this, John, already, but with this repaving effort, if you could, we're going to have you present that, I believe, second meeting in April. Excellent. So the council has visibility, and neighbors always get excited when they think the roads are getting improved. So.
Yeah, Michael and I talked. He's gonna do the presentation, second meeting of council, do kind of a high-level overview of how we view asset management, how we make decisions, and have some examples as well as some of the pavement conditions that we see, and then we'll answer questions if the council has it.
Excellent.
That sort of transparency really helps flesh it out, because if you see the PASER rating and how much you need to spend to get it to what we can all accept, makes it easier to understand what you're spending towards. So that's great.
Yep.
Anything else we missed? All right, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.